Well, we are back in the Beyond Default studio, and today it is my very, very great pleasure to have in the studio with me today Lynn Levitt. Hello, Lynn.
Oh, hey, Katrina. I feel very blessed to be here. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's so wonderful to have you here, and I'm so glad that you said yes. Lynn and I have known each other now for about 7 years, but it feels like we've known each other a lifetime, what we know about each other. And I mean, I guess, Lynn, that probably takes us to our first question. This podcast is all about helping people to see that they can live a life beyond default. They can live a life by design. I know a lot about your life, but our listeners may not. So I guess maybe just share a little bit with us to start with about your journey and, what kind of led you to where you are today.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Katrina. Well, I think, living a life by design, wow, if only they taught that in school, would have made a difference. Look, I think, and I love the name of your podcast, By Default, because I think for me, particularly in my early teens, I think like most people, I got a job. I lied about my age, and I started working at McDonald's, the first McDonald's in Australia, actually, Yagoona, when I was 13 and 9 months, and you're meant to be 14 and 9 months. And I loved that job because you used to be able to have anything you could want for free in your break. Unbelievable. And I've still got a scar. I've still got a scar on my finger from where we used to have to stand on stools and pull the blades out of the sundae machines to clean them.
Wow.
And I just always have loved working and serving people. And I think as I led into my teens, I found myself in the travel industry. And having really had quite a sheltered childhood, to be sent overseas from like 16, like Europe, around the world, cruises, you name it. By the time I was 20, I had been to many, many countries. By the time I was 26, I was living in the UK, I was living in New York, running marketing companies and things over there in travel. And whilst I loved all that, I just felt, I don't know, I've always been a bit of a homebody. And I came back to Australia, married, and had my first child, Kate, at about 30, 31. And I purposely set out not to have my kids till later because my mum was my best friend. I had such a great positive relationship with my mum, very fortunate. She always spoke positively, always led me to believe I could do anything. I had lots of love from my dad as well, but I, unfortunately, had a bit of a drinking problem. But mum really sort of led me to believe I could do whatever I wanted to do. And because we had such a great relationship, when I decided to have kids, I always wanted to be at home. And I wasn't in a position that we had enough money that I couldn't work. So, I mean, it'd be 30 years ago now, I turned 60 this year, that I sort of started working from home before it was even really cool. And that just became, when you say life by design, that then became my mission. Wherever I worked, whatever I did, even when I went back to work, I always orchestrated that I could work from home on certain days. So that's what I love doing most. I love helping people, particularly women, work out that they can have a choice and they don't have to give their life over to somebody, 60 hours a week.
So good, Lynn. Fantastic. Well, Lynn, from a very early age, you were beyond your years. I mean, just incredible to have that kind of courage, to travel overseas at such a young age and, just start going, I want to make something of my life. So that concept of living a life by design came very early for you. Maybe tell everyone a little bit about what you do now, and then we'll get a bit of an idea of what was kind of like any particular kind of major moment that happened in your life that shifted you in a direction. So, tell everyone a little bit about what you do now.
Yeah, well, probably for about the last 15 years, actually, since I did my credentials in, business and personal coaching, I've always worked in coaching women, either in the workplace or outside, women that are in the workplace. So predominantly been working from home. And then about 7 years ago, because to be a coach, I believe you need coaches. And so I had a business coach, and he said to Craig, my husband, and I, hey, you guys have got your business goals down pat, but have you got a health goal? And we went, I was in a little bit of denial. I'm like, what are you saying? He said something I'm not saying. And he said, no. He said, just trust me. He said, when you really have a health goal, whatever that is, mind, body, spiritual, weight loss, he said, you watch things change. And we said, okay. And so that's what happened. We embarked on a health journey, which then led me to bring that suite of tools into my coaching business. So, if anyone was to say, well, Lynn, what do you do today? I essentially help women feel better about themselves and gain confidence through a great health program that has served me and my family well now for 7 years. And because it is true, like a lot of us can go to the gym and get healthy, but until you're really mentally and spiritually healthy, whatever that looks like for you, you just can't see all of the opportunities and possibilities that are available to you. So that's what I do now. I coach men and women, but it's predominantly female. The husbands come along like mine, kicking and screaming every now and then. Some of them willingly come through the door, but predominantly it's the women. And I just love helping them feel better, because when people feel better, they think differently. When they think differently, their goals are different, and they just seem to come a lot faster when you're healthy.
And, I guess it's that base level of needs, right? You've got your health right. And you talked about, helping women with confidence through health and through finances, because it's amazing how great you feel when you got, what are the things that cause stress in your life, right? Around finances.
Yeah, 100%.
Just tell me a little bit about, was there a particular moment or catalyst or something that happened in your life that you went, this is why I want to do this?
Yeah, 100%. And that's a bit of a two-pronged thing. So if I go back to probably 10, or about 8 or 9 years ago, so I've been in the health and wellness arena now for 7 years, but about 8 or 9 years prior to that, I was in the finance area. And my job was to help and coach clients and also help them pay off their mortgage, which I really, really love doing. I bought my first property at 26, and, because my parents never owned a home. I was raised in the old western suburbs in Lidcombe. So that sense of security was really important to me. So I then went on to buy multiple properties throughout the course of the next 4 or 5 years, flip them, take the money and run sort of thing, or spend it on more overseas trips. And then when I got into my 30s, I started to slow down a bit, and we started to do some investments. Unfortunately, and of which Craig and I take full responsibility for, we probably didn't get our advice from the right people, and we invested in some properties that didn't go well. And that's what actually led us to look at our health, because we were both so incredibly sick and mentally strained from the financial pressure. Right. And also the shame of that, Katrina. I had my first property when I was 26. I'd always been on good money. I always loved where I worked. I was always looked after. I don't really have any bad workplace stories. And I was just so ashamed of where we were, and as was Craig. So you can imagine us together, it wasn't an incredibly healthy environment. And in amongst all that, our daughter, Kate, she was diagnosed with bipolar. So it was pretty rocky there until I found a health coach, which actually was your beautiful sister, and which then led me to you, which then started to change everything. So there was a two-pronged catalyst in us losing everything, and we did lose absolutely everything, bar a tiny, tiny bit of inheritance money that Craig got from his father. And so I was 55, Craig was 58. So it wasn't that too long ago where we had zero, nothing. And but what happened was I then decided to do my mortgage broking credentials, because I wanted to try and work out what I had done wrong. Right. And I went and worked for a mortgage broker who was absolutely phenomenal. He taught me a lot. But I just couldn't stand, I don't like spreadsheets. I like people coming to me and going, look, here's my credit cards, here's our mortgage, and because most people, when they try and do debt reduction, they'll try and pay off the highest credit card, and that's actually not the way to go. You want to pay off the smallest debt first, and then compound that money onto the next one, because you feel like you're getting somewhere. You know, it's a bit like health. So there were two things. There was doing the mortgage broking, which I no longer practice. It was actually doing the health journey. And the reason I did the mortgage broking again was because it was an avenue to be able to generate revenue so I could work from home. And at that point, it was to be as close as I could be to Kate while she was going through what she was going through, as well as trying to keep the balance on the other parts of the family, which unfortunately, you know, there was a collateral damage there. But I'm happy to say now everyone's older. We're all a lot wiser, and by far we're all a lot healthier. So everyone's in a really, really great place now, but it was a journey.
Wow, Lynn. I mean, I think when you go through something like that, I would imagine there would be lots of fear and anxiety and things like that. Like, how did you get over the fear to go, okay, I've got to start new here, but not just start new. I mean, once you worked out that there was a way for you to turn your life around, which you have, you moved. Like, how did you get over that fear and get into action?
Yeah, well, so two things I just want to talk to you there. So you're absolutely right. Don't ever make decisions from fear. We purchased property based on fear of missing out. You know, because I'd always owned homes. I had my home paid off with my children. Then all of a sudden I didn't. So we made some investment decisions that were from a fear of missing out, which led us down to a huge tunnel of pain. Whereas since then, and getting healthy, so I think the final answer to your question is you have to stop. You have to stop. And as a counsellor once said to me, and how's that working out for you, Lynn? Like, I was trying to justify what I was doing and why I was doing it. And I actually just read the same line in another book I was reading the other day. And the counsellor said the same. And by the way, how's your thought process working out for you? And I'm like, well, it's not. And she said, great. So there is the first step. Now, would you like some new information that could possibly change the way that you think about yourself, most importantly, and therefore will help you make different decisions? So then when we did that, which was first with the health journey, we then found ourselves in an environment with a whole lot of other mentors and teachers who were singing the same song. So we could then dance to the same tune and pivot to where we needed to pivot and back ourselves again. But this time we had new knowledge. So for me, it wasn't about changing who I was. It was actually about stepping into who I believed I was. Like, for some reason, I had forgotten who I was. I had forgotten that I didn't need to make those crazy decisions, that actually having one house and paying it off and having money in the bank to do whatever you want to do with whomever you want to do whenever you want to do it, that's actually a great scenario. That's what we've got now. And I had that, lost it. And fortunately, I've got it back again, but I've got it back again now with more wisdom, more calmness, more gratitude. And I'm not running to keep up with anyone. I'm not running to keep up with, with people that might have more than I have. I'm more looking at what I can give to those who don't have what I have, if that makes sense. So it
makes a lot of sense.
Those two things. Education. Education is what did it.
So let's talk a little bit about that. During this conversation, you've mentioned coaches, counselors, teachers, mentors. It's one of the things that I have definitely learned, like, as we've had a relationship over this last 7 years or so, I've just seen how teachable you are. Maybe just talk about, the role that kind of coaches, mentors, teachers have played in your life, and how that has helped you live a life by design.
Yeah, well, thank you for that acknowledgement of being teachable. I think the biggest thing for me is, even with my coaching, I don't believe I'm the answer 100%. And I don't know, there might be other people out there that have got much bigger, more successful businesses for me that believe the opposite, but I've always seen myself as a conduit. So you come, you work with me. If I'm the answer, fantastic. But if I'm not, I'm going to be the first person to tell you, because I would never, ever want to try and say to someone that I can help them if I think there's someone they're better suited to. So the first thing is I have a rule of 3. So when I go looking for a counsellor, a psychologist, and we've had a lot of them, because particularly with Kate, prior to her being diagnosed with bipolar, she had anorexia nervosa in her teenage years. So we worked with a medical team. So I worked with a fantastic nutritionist, and she wasn't into clean eating. She was, one of the opening things that she said when we went for that first meeting, she said, Kate, you will eat pizza shapes and you will eat a muffin from Woolies.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. And I just went, wow. And like we've always been a healthy family, and that sort of thing. But I just really loved her approach. And of course Kate did get healthy with her help. And but then with the bipolar as well, we had the psychiatrist. So I felt I had to catch up to stay ahead so I could be Kate's advocate. So I engaged a psychologist that specialised in bipolar, that helped families deal with the effects of that in the family. Now, I can honestly say, to some degree, I was a little bit late in doing that. So when I said before there was collateral damage, unfortunately, the other kids in the family would quite possibly feel that they didn't get enough attention. And I'm 100% certain that's accurate, because when you've got a child that's dying, or you perceive to be dying, all energy goes there. And that's where it went. And I just won't ever apologise for that. We've just now got to deal with the consequences. And I'm happy to say, through the counsellors and through the coaching and through the people that Craig and I have engaged, we've now been able to bring the family that was always together, but now we're more lovingly together, and we're a blended family. So that there's another layer in there as well.
Another layer of complexity.
I'm like one of those really complex cakes that those cake people make, that take weeks to make, and there's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. And just when you think you're getting to the cream, there's more. But I think I've been given those gifts. I've been as challenging, and trust me, I had my own fair share of breakdowns. I'm not sure how I didn't end up in a clinic myself, but I couldn't stand the pain, and I went always going searching of teachers to help me move out of the pain. But I now understand. Sometimes I've got to sit in it, but there's nothing wrong with moving towards not having pain. I think sometimes we've got to be careful. We don't go, oh, well, you've got to sit in your unhappiness. You've got to sit in this. Yeah, okay, well, let's give that 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Now let's move towards the life of design. And who can help me get there? If what I'm doing is not working, what's wrong with me going, hey, like, Katrina, I've reached out to you many times and gone, look, I don't know what I'm doing here. I can't understand what's meant to be happening here. Can you explain it for me? Because sometimes we just need somebody to explain it to us in a different way so that our brain can get it. So I'm all for counsellors. I'm all for psychologists. I'm all for psychiatrists. But I do have a rule of 3. And so often when I'm coaching people, and I think, because you know better than anyone the boundaries around coaching and counselling, I'll go, hey, I'll suggest to them, hey, would you consider, do you think you're ready to go and talk to another professional? And sometimes, and I always say to them, now, if first you don't like the first one, go to a second one. Don't throw the baby in the bathwater, because our brain is always going to protect us from people who are trying to help us, which is bizarre. Think about it. But we are the whole sum of our limited beliefs. And if I want to be more, then to me it only makes sense that I'm going to need other people's information to help me be more. And I can pick and choose what I want. And I say this to Kate all the time as she goes very charging through incredible amount of therapy. that she's going through, I go, when she gets nervous and when she gets scared, I go, guess what? The great thing is you can say yes or no. You're actually in control. And
well, that's part of living a life of design, isn't it? You are in control of what you want your life to be, and with the right help, you can make it that way. One of the things that I've always felt is so attractive about you, Lynn, is this concept of you don't try and make things perfect. You know, a lot of people are trying to avoid mistakes, or, you know, I've got to learn from my mistakes. It's like, well, you know, like, what's a mistake anyway? Like, isn't life just a series of mistakes that we make and along the way? Just talk a little bit about, I guess, how you've embraced imperfection to just go like, I'm not going to be perfect.
The answer to that is because my life didn't turn out how I expected it to be. So I had to let go. I just had to let go. So the interesting thing, that all came from, like, I wasn't very smart at school. I understand now there's academia and there's emotional intelligence. I actually do have good emotional intelligence. I get that. I don't even pretend that I don't anymore. I actually do. But at school, I was in like C's, and I mean, you know, if I got a B, man, you know, that was so exciting. But I remember they put in a course, and it was to teach young girls to be receptionists, okay? And it was only for people that were in the D&E classes. Now, I was a BC. So here, can you imagine, I had to do everything possible, which wasn't that hard, to get into a D class so that I could go, because all I ever wanted to do was work in an office and serve people. Like, this was as far as my dream was when I was about 11 or 12. I wanted to be on a receptionist desk typing and answering the phone and getting my boss coffee. That was my dream.
I love it.
That was my dream. So when I got into travel, which was by default, it was through my boyfriend's sister. I was fortunate that it was a highly credentialed travel agency, really accredited, had been around for a long time. And they'd all travelled and they'd all been everywhere. So here I was, the new kid on the block. So they said, right, you're going to go and do this and you're going to do that. I can't tell you how many people got on the wrong planes. I can't tell you how many people, I mean, they should have sacked me. They didn't. Thank the grace of I don't know what. I don't know how many times I got the ledgers wrong. I mean, that was back in the day where there were no computers. I can't tell you how many times someone would turn up at a hotel and I'd booked it for the wrong night. So I learned very early on, by the grace of those people,
yes,
that, and it was only my anxiety and my lack of confidence that I was creating those mistakes. And again, now I teach people. My husband, God bless him, he is Mr. Perfection 101. He's like those little memes that run around, Mr. Perfect. And it just breaks my heart. And women, every woman I attract to coach is a perfectionist, and they're just killing themselves. They're mentally and physically. Yes. And I go, what would happen if you didn't do that? And it's good. Like, and one of the things I say to people that aren't good at making mistakes, if you tie your right shoe up first every day, start doing your left. If you wear your watch, you know, those old things. If you've got your rings on, put them on your right. Wear different glasses. I freak them out. Wear two different earrings. Wear two different earrings. Get that feeling. It's like setting goals. You've got to start small. A lot of people don't realise that it is a goal to put your clothes on in the morning. It is a goal not to walk out naked. But see, we take that for granted. So to me, that's so. I think because I was surrounded by, like my mum, unconditional love. My first workplace, unconditional love. I've always had good bosses. And I'll never forget one time. I'll just tell you quickly. I was in travel. I made this horrendous mistake. I was walking my children around the Easter show. Well, it was the Eckarts in Brisbane.
Yes.
I got this phone call from a client. He was at the airport. He was flying first class to LA. It was done with his frequent flyer. I booked it on the wrong day.
Oh.
It's like a Saturday afternoon. Back in those days, there's nothing. I mean, this was my biggest corporate account, biggest corporate account. The ticket was $10,000. Now, I can honestly say I immediately went to, I've got to fix this problem, Lynn. This is your error. You'll be buying that ticket.
Wow.
I scrambled around, got some friends with a couple of credit cards. I had a phone call to Qantas. We purchased the last first-class ticket, I'll never forget it, $10,180 one way. I'm at the Ekka with Kate and Harry. I think they're 4 and 7 or whatever it is at the time. One little show bag each. I'm sitting there crying my eyes out. And I just went, you know what, Lynn? It's all going to be okay. You've done it. Okay. The next day, or Monday, that was Saturday, on the Monday, I get a phone call from the insurance company saying I was completely covered because it was an error. And they refunded the money within 24 hours.
Oh, wow. What a good story, Lynn. What a good story.
Fortunately, I haven't got too many more like that.
But they're experiences, right, that make you.
And I survived. And I'm not saying you've got to go but that was just me. That was my values. It was my mistake. I had to do it. I was fortunate. That was the time where I'd paid off my home, so I had money. I just couldn't access it. And then we worked out a way. But I was just, I don't know, that freedom of making that decision and owning that was my mistake, that changed my life forever. So I don't go out of my way to make mistakes, and I'm not skipping around the house happy when I make mistakes. But I just don't let them take me out of the game.
Yes, Lynn.
Okay, well, how can we work this out? How can we work? What's the solution? And I've never ever now had a mistake, and I've never ever now had an experience where I haven't had to help someone when they've perceived they've made a mistake, that we haven't actually been able to find a solution fairly quickly, and they haven't felt better fairly quickly. So there's the reward. I'm addicted to the reward of feeling better once it's sorted out.
Yeah, nice one, Lynn.
So that's why I can navigate that.
Fantastic. Okay, I've got two more questions for you. I know we're running out of time, but I've got two important questions for you. One is, I'd just love to know, have you got a particular, you talk about the fact that you love serving others, and, you coach people, you mentor people, you're serving people every day. Any particular daily routines that you swear by to say these kind of fill my cup and they help me do what I need to do?
Yeah, 100%. So I'm not one of those people that's very good at, like, I'm a morning person. But from the minute I open my eyes, and this was a strategy that I was coached in many years ago to help alleviate anxiety in the morning. I will actually lie in bed, and the first thing I will do is, talk to the person I talk to, and thank them for everything that's in my life, the lessons, everything. Thank them that. Be thankful that I have Craig lying next to me. Be thankful for the kids, our grandchildren. And that's the first thing I do before I even get out of bed, before my feet even hit the floor. So I know people say, oh, you should get up and you go and find it. But mine actually starts in bed. Then what I do is I get up, and then I go and I do a 10-minute meditation. And then I read my book of choice for 10 minutes. And I limit myself to 10 minutes, because I could do an hour and I could do an hour of reading, but I want my brain to get the habit that when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And then I do that exact same routine at night. When I lie in bed at night, I lie there, and because I love my bed and I love the comfort of it, and I'll put my hands on my chest and I'll just go, right now, who have I helped today? Because I like to make sure that I've changed one person's life. Because my mother said something to me when I was 15. She said, Lynn, you don't have to go out and change the world. You don't have to go and join Greenpeace. And she said, you can just open the door for one person and look them in the eye and smile, and you don't know what that could do for them. So again, there's a very simple gift. So I've lived my life letting people in, on the track. I don't get angry. I don't get angry if someone's going crazy. I just slow down. So I'll think about that person before I go to bed, and I'll go, gee, I hope their day got better. I hope their day got better. And that not only fills my cup, it's pretty simple and it's pretty basic, I know, but more than anything, it's taken away my anxiety.
So beautiful, Lynn. Actually, I'm going to squeeze one more question in. I know how much you love book reading. You just mentioned that. Is there a particular book, or do you want to just talk about, just share why you love books so much?
Well, it was you who got me back into reading. So my dad was a big reader, and so we were always taught to read. But yeah, I don't know, it just stopped. And through getting healthy again, you start to create capacity. It's a weird thing, isn't it? You think, I can't possibly, like, how many people are running around at this time of the year going, I've got to do a diet, I've got to do something, I don't have time for anything. The interesting thing is, once you get healthy, you seem to then have this extra capacity. And you were the one who said to me, hey, are you reading? And I went, oh, no, I've forgotten about that. Let's do that. And I just started with 10 pages a day, because for me, I'm really basic. So I've got to chunk everything down into really small, easy things that I can do. So 10 pages a day I could do. The next thing you know, I would probably easily read 2 books a month, but I would also listen to 1 too on Audible. And I love a combination between, fiction and nonfiction. I like to read the Bible. I'm studying the Bible. It was my father who told me about that many, many years ago. And, he was his Church of England, and he always used to talk about these 66 stories, these 66 books in the Bible. And I've just started reading some of them, and it's really quite interesting. And it's interesting because Dad always said the principles and the fundamentals of life. And he never went to church. My dad never went to church. We weren't a church family or anything like that. But he said, if anyone wants to know anything about how to live their life, it's in that book.
Wow.
And yeah, righto, whatever, Dad. But, now, 50 odd years later, and now that I'm 60, it's interesting. It's interesting. You read a lot of the self-help books and you can see it written in the original.
Those books.
I'm not here to talk about that, but I just find it all really interesting. And I just love learning, and I love reading. I love reading autobiographies, biographies, and just hearing about people who have overcome things in their life that they can pass on to others.
Well, John Maxwell refers to books as mentors, and you've certainly leveraged that strategy, Lynn. So last question, how do people find you if they want to find out more about Lynn Levitt?
Oh, thanks, Katrina. Well, just go to Facebook and look up Lynn Levitt and you'll see me there. I do have a website coming, and I do have a new coaching program coming. It's all about kindness and self-love and kindness to others and kindness to yourself. So, but that website's coming. But yeah, and I'm waiting for your book, Katrina. I'm waiting for when's your book going to be released, because I'd like to read that as well. So thank you for having me.
One day, Lynn, one day. That'll be the goal. That'll be a goal for next year. But it has been an absolute pleasure today to connect with you. I'm so glad that people have had an opportunity to get to know you better. And of course, now they know how to get to know you even more if they want to do so. So thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, Katrina. Thank you for your time. Love it.
Pleasure.